You know, like, I mean, the intelligence itself would be, you know, magnificent enough if time was true and this now was dependent on the previous now.
Yeah.
If that was true, which it's not, but if that was true, oh my God, the intelligence behind that would be magnificent. Now imagine an intelligence that's not dependent on a previous now, because there is no previous now.
Yeah.
And this, like in your head, you know, like every is just coming into existence now. Without there to be a plan or just bang.
When you say there's just this, Darren, there seems to be two things happening. There's this consciousness, just this, and then there seems to be mind painting the world, tree, sky, Terrence, human beings, subatomic particles, a big bang that happened, it paints the world, right? Everything. So there's this nothingness, and a dream, a dance is appearing as well. So there seems to be two things happening, not one.
Correct. But that creates the seems to be two things happening is just thoughts. Holy shit. It's just thoughts. And you know, if you could, like, if we could collapse those thoughts completely, now there would be no two things happening. There wouldn't be two. There wouldn't be a me and a you in the complete collapse of thought. Now all is one.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's only this, Darren. It's only the sixth sense, that seems to emanate the seeming appearance of things, or one or two or three or four or infinity or whatever the case may be. It's mind. Boom.
There you go.
Mind. That's all it is. The duality. Sorry, buddy. The duality is the mind only.
Yeah, right. Which is not true, right? It's not true because
correct.
It's not permanent. It appears and disappears, comes and goes.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Now come back to
God plays that out, that dream, for us to recognize where pure consciousness is this.
In this case, yes. But in most cases, no. In most cases, no. God's just happy to be trundling on as seeming me's and and look at the
99% of the population is happy to be an unconscious God traveling along being an I and me personality.
Yeah. Wow. And it's God having that experience as a seeming me or as a seeming Darren.
Why does God play this play?
And it's created with thoughts. You know those thoughts that we don't think, they just happen?
Yep.
Those thoughts that just happen.
It's like a joke then. Why does God want to play this joke out for?
Why does he want to play this joke out?
Just like a joke. Like look at Israel, and they're blowing the shit out of each other. Like, what a mighty, terrible. Well, you could look at it as terrible if it's conceptual, but you know, like, why this craziness?
But who's being harmed?
We have to go once again into mind duality to say there's people being harmed.
Who's being harmed? Yeah.
But if there is ultimate reality, nothing's happening.
No one's being harmed.
Why is this dance? What for? What's the reason for it, Terrence?
Here's the answer, okay? And it's latent within all human beings, Darren. Most, by far most. Yeah, there's a tiny percentage that perhaps not, yeah? And that is the simple love to be. That's inherent in you. You don't choose that. If someone walked into that room right now and put their hands around your throat and they was trying to strangle you to death, you would fight for all you were worth to stay alive. And it's not survival, it's the love to be. Why none of us want to die as seeming persons, right? I don't want to die, fuck. You know, and it's so scary to people that we don't even think about it. Yeah, it's the love to be. So in answer to your question, why did God or source or consciousness or whatever label we want to give it decide to do this? Because in its pure, unadulterated, one state, nothing happens. There's nothing to know. Everything. It doesn't consist of parts. It's one. There's no parts to it. Yeah? What then creates the seeming part, yeah, is when you have a combination of consciousness and mind. Now there's seeming parts according to mind. But if that drops or you dwell here in consciousness, you know that what mind is saying is not true. You know. Like you directly, you know. Yeah. You're close, man. You're so close.
So the goal
You're
of life,
so close.
the goal of life, Terrence, would be more like to recognize. I know you said the love to be, but that's naturally ingrained in every human being. But the goal of life would be to recognize the beauty of this.
That's it. That's the
know
look,
that you are all that is, and that's a beautiful thing, goal to have.
Yeah.
To recognize.
Well, look,
I feel.
It's the only, if we want to talk about goals, it's the only goal worth having.
Yeah.
Because everything else is impermanent. Everything else is impermanent. Even if your goal is, I want to be a billionaire. Okay, well that's okay. It's a reasonable goal, but you can't take that with you when the body dies.
No.
So it's a temporary goal.
Yeah.
You know.
Terrence, I'm going to read you this quote on, if you don't mind, on
Yeah.
while we're on this goal stuff. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
Here we go. Awareness is like a screen on which a movie appears. When you attach only to the objects and the characters in the movie, you miss the screen. You miss the source of life, the canvas on which the objects and characters are being displayed. When you fixate on the screen only and try to deny the objects, you miss the vast beauty and diversity of form and the play of life. Instead of fixating on either awareness or the objects, simply notice that they are an inseparable reality. They are not two. In that realization, there is nothing left to seek. That is wholeness.
Beautiful.
It's pretty beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and that aligns with what I sometimes say. You have non-duality without duality, and you cannot have duality without non-duality. It's one stick, two ends of this, but it's the one stick, two ends of the same stick. You can't have one without the other. Just imagine, it's impossible.
But surely,
Shall we go on?
Surely, this seems to be always here, and Darren's thoughts come and go non-stop all day long, and they come and go, but this doesn't come and go. This is always here.
Yeah, but
So
how would you know about, hang on, hold on one sec. How would you know about non-duality without the Darren duality character and the split? How would you know about non-dual?
all right. So because of duality, you can recognize non-duality.
Correct. Because without duality, it would just be non-dual and no recognition of anything, of self or anything or nothing. Just, you can't even imagine what one in its latent potential would be like. We can't even imagine it. One in its latent, just not doing anything. One. No movement, nothing. You can't even imagine it. Yeah. So for the love to be, this is a concept, okay? It's just, yeah, but it's probably best understood this way. Yeah. For the love to be, the one seems to split into two. Seems to split into two. Doesn't really. What it does, it produces a dualistic mind in human beings. Because of the dualistic mind, then things seem to split, divide. A tree there, me, you there. All this, yeah. Now, non-duality couldn't come back to itself and know itself if it first didn't go into dual. To do that, to then remember back into the one, remember, or remember if you like, back into the one.
Does that make sense to me?
That
makes sort of sense the way you explain that, because you're probably going to say no to this, but you know, like, people have a hard life, you know, and we go through our addictions of alcohol. We could end up in a park living on benches or whatever it is, bombs getting burnt, not whatever. But there's the opportunity in the horror of life and the terror of life to recognize your true self. If life was all rosy and you're a millionaire and you had BMWs and you didn't give a shit about anything because you just didn't have to give a shit, you'd never look at, man, what's the meaning of life? There's got to be something better than this because this ain't fucking good.
Correct. So that's the instrument. That's the tool, or that's the concept, if you like. Life's tough. Oh my God, I'm an alcoholic, and okay, I've just stopped drinking. Now, how am I going to stay sober? How am I going to get well? How am I going to get myself into a position of never drinking again? And blah, blah. That's the story that comes from the one to find itself again. The one does that story as well.
Yeah.
It's responsible for all stories. It's responsible for all thoughts. All. There's no one separate. There's nothing separate from one.
Yeah.
If you like, yeah, you could say there is only one mind, and that's the mind of God. Only one. And all thoughts come from that one mind. You could say that because it's one, of course.
Yeah,
it's one thing to identify, Darren, and I know you have. Like, it's one thing to identify. Shit, I'm not the thinker. Thoughts just happen. Don't leave it there. Don't then leave it there, because thoughts are pretty fucking intelligent too. Yeah. And the mind isn't the thinker. Not that there is a mind, right? There are just thoughts. And those thoughts are pretty damn intelligent. Some not so. We could argue, right? But that computer you're looking at the moment was idea someone's mind once. let's create this, right? Which is God creating that. You understand that thought?
Yeah.
So
In the state of sleep, Terrence, are we in non-duality then, not two?
say that again, sorry.
In the state of deep sleep, are we in a state of non-duality completely?
Well,
Non-dual?
that's a trick question because you're always in a state of non-dual. Always.
Appearing to be two. Only appearing to be two. Right.
Of course, only that's you hear teachers say it all the time. It's an appearance all the time.
Not really two, there just appears to be two, but really it's all one.
Correct.
Right. I think it was used.
Otherwise, this whole non-dual idea or teaching is a crock of shit.
Yeah.
There's either one or there's two.
Yeah.
It's either one or there's two.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if there's two, non-duality is bullshit.
Yeah.
If there's two.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can, and you already have, you can experience that non-dual directly. That's how you know. And no one can take it away from you because now you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
Was it you, Terrence, that told me, imagine it like this. Not this, but like this. Imagine infinite space, just space. No stars, it's infinite space. Dark, just going for everywhere. And God put one planet there because it needed one planet there for space to recognize itself. Without that one planet, space couldn't recognize itself. Was that you?
I may have, I can't recall, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah.
That's why the play happens. This seems to help us reflect and recognize we are the one.
Yeah. Yeah. And Darren, make no mistake, yeah. It's God waking to itself. And you are that. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't say that to everybody. If someone's got a bit of an ego still there, oh, good one, God. You can imagine what they're going to do with that information. One God, right? Oh, I can do anything and it doesn't matter, and whatever.
I'll go and test that out. I'll go and tell my wife what God wants.
Yeah. Don't. Don't. Yeah. Whatever you do, don't. Yeah, she'll be picking up the phone, calling the fucking ambulance. But see, even God, human beings believe that there's themselves and God, and they'll say, and God is all powerful and all knowing and all this, and and so on and so forth. And that's not the God I'm referring to at all. Yeah. God's not objective. It's not an object. It's not a thing. Yeah.